What a great decision you made to join us in the trenches today. Brought to you by First Star Logistics. And I'm telling you, the studio is second to none. And our guest is second to none because it is Eric Thomas, E.T. E.T. He not only phoned home, he ran home, he tackled home, he did it big time. He was one of the best defensive players, best corners, best players in Bengal history. He could fly. He talks about playing the secondary. He talks about Dax Hill moving from safety to corner instead of corner to safety. He talks about the young defensive backs. He's impressed with the rookie draft picks up front because, as we all know, an old football axiom, you can't stop the run, you ain't stopping the pass either. You got to stop the run and make it one-dimensional. All of that. Eric Thomas is one of those guys you could talk football with for a long, long time. And we did. You're going to like it. Certainly do appreciate you taking the time to join us in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. As always, coming to you from our studio, second to none studio, by the way, in our brand new building. So we're in good shape here with respect to what we got going on. We're in unbelievable shape with our guest because this guy knows football. We're talking Eric Thomas. We're talking E.T. This guy has played football, has broadcast, has coached, has done everything you can do in the game of football. Eric Thomas, second-round pick out of Tulane, 9-year player in the National Football League. The 88 season was one to remember. Member of the SWAT team. Bengals go to the Super Bowl. E.T. obviously plays in the Super Bowl and then goes to the Pro Bowl as well. Thing about him, he's an unbelievable sprinter, long jumper as well. So just an outstanding athlete that the Bengals had at the cornerback position. One of the greatest corners in the history of Cincinnati Bengals football. And we love talking football with E.T. What's up, my man?
Hey, what's going on, Dad? Great introduction. I appreciate it. I don't know if I'm all that, but I sure appreciate it.
You are all that. Real quick, I know we've talked about this before. I mean, the coaching part of it. What's it like? I can only imagine what it's like to coach a kid and develop him and help in the maturation as a human being and as a football player and see him get a scholarship to play at the next level. What is that feeling like when you know you were instrumental in helping him get that done, man?
You know, I tell you what, I think about back when I was a player, and as you know, Dick LeBeau was my coach here, and he was such the great teacher, Dave. And he was patient, he was soft-spoken,
yep.
But he was all about the teaching part of it. And the teaching part of it translates to your life and how you handle yourself as a person. The things that you want to try and achieve from being an athlete or a football player. And so we got very lucky that we had Dick LeBeau, a guy who had played in the league for 15 years, understood the landscape of how the league works, how players need to come into the league and have this approach and this way about going to be a professional. And so for me, having such a great role model and someone to learn from and watch, even though I had no idea at the time that I was planning on coaching in any kind of way. Right. But to take that and now pass it along, I just had a kid that played for me down at Taft High School, a kid named Quentin Price. He's 6'2" and about 185 pounds.
Wow.
Plays corner. He's long and he's fast. And I got this kid when he's in the 10th grade. And he was sort of long and dangly. And so to have the opportunity to take this sort of raw product and sort of help him develop and understand how to play the position, how to understand the responsibility of going out there and playing at a high level week in and week out, the responsibility of watching film and trying to see how much you can absorb to learn before you even take the field. And to watch this kid go from a sophomore who was just a long kid and no one knew that he was going to turn out to be a good player, but you look at his body. And for him to go from a sophomore to now being at the University of Cincinnati on a full ride scholarship and having a chance to play in the Big 12 and get this opportunity to continue his athletic career and his schooling, it makes you feel really, really good. Because at this point in my life, I'm not trying to do anything for myself in regard. I'm done with my athletic career. I'm no longer playing. So in order to have the opportunity to pass along some of that information that I got as a player from the great coaches I had has been, man, it's been worth $1 million, Dave. It's been fantastic.
I can only imagine, when the kids, the first time that they, you gather up with them and you're imparting the knowledge, whether it be in the classroom, on the field, or whatever, and they're thinking, "Oh my gosh, man, that's Eric Thomas. He was a Pro Bowl player with the Cincinnati Bengals. He played in Super Bowl 23. That's Eric Thomas, man. He was covering all these great." I'm listening to Eric Thomas. I mean, do you see in their faces that it's like they are on every word, man?
Absolutely. I think what you find is that athletes are different these days than we were, Dave. But what they want still, they still want to learn.
Yeah.
They still want to be good, and they still understand that the only way I'm going to get that is if I absorb that from someone who knows, someone who's been there, someone who's had that experience. And so for me, I hear the whispers, and I hear the guys. He played the Super Bowl. He's a Pro Bowl corner, all this kind of stuff. And I told him, look, that's great for me. I said, but that's not great for you guys. I said, because you're not me. You have to do what you can do. And so I tell them, I said, look, it's great to look at what I did. I said, but I want you to look at the information I'm going to give you and the way I'm going to teach you, and see if that can help you go achieve whatever you want. I told him, I said, coaching is it's really a sort of a thankless job until guys are gone, and then you see them come back, and then they come and talk to you. I mean, I had guys that I coached over at Princeton High School that I still talk to, and that was 5 years ago, and 5-6 years ago, and these guys still talk to me. They still some of them still playing college football, and they're very fortunate that they've had a sort of a sounding board in Coach ET. They can call and talk to about things, about making decisions about what they want to do with their careers. And so for me, as you know, the growth of the young man is really what coaching is about. Trying to help people see if they can reach some of their goals themselves, and not just be a good athlete and a good player, but also take that on and become a good citizen, become a good person in society, because that's going to get you a lot of places that football wouldn't. And so I think that just having that opportunity to do that, Dave, it's a blessing.
I'll tell you, I remember the relationship I had with my coaches, high school, college, in the NFL, offensive line coaches, and honestly, I mean, literally, they were like my second dads. I mean, I worship those guys, man. I mean, if they told me to run through the wall backwards, I would. Anything they told me to do, I would have done. And honestly, unfortunately, I'm getting to an age where there aren't any of them around anymore. Right. But when I lost them, every single time that one passed on, I was like, man, it just crushed me. It was almost like I lost that family member, that dad, father figure. And it's very, very unique. I mean, some people are listening, that didn't experience what we experienced. They're like, oh man, that's cornball stuff. Man, it's real though.
It's real. Yes,
yeah, these bonds and relationships are real deals, aren't they?
When you're a young man and you have that, particularly when you come into the pros, we all came into the league. We're green. We have no idea what the league is about. We're coming in now. We're seeing players that we watched on TV, and now we're actually in the same locker room with some of those players. And it can be sort of intimidating initially. But what happens is once you get into the part about football,
yep,
age has nothing to do with it. It only comes down to who has the most desire to learn and be good. And I think about you in your career. When you think about the 5'2" player, only thing what I know about Dave Lapham is Dave Lapham can play anything. He plays center, he plays guard, he plays tackle, and that's really what football is about. But that's the learning part of it. That's having a coach that's willing to take the time to say, "Hey, Dave, we want you to do this. Yep. We know you can do it, and we're going to teach you and give you the tools." And so I felt the same way about me and what I do with my coaching. Just try to see if I can give these guys some tools to want to go out there and take on the field and see if that can get them to a level that they want to be.
Well, you were an unbelievably versatile football player as well. You could play a lot of positions. Dick LeBeau loved you for that reason as well as many others. Takes me to, I guess, transition to a current Cincinnati Bengal, Dax Hill, who has played safety, but now they're going to move him outside. And, you hear a lot about corners going inside the safety toward the tail end of their career. Right. Going from safety to corner is a much different dynamic than going from corner to safety. What do you think about that with respect to Dax Hill? How do you think he might fare? And what are the challenges that he may be facing, E.T.?
One of the things, Solomon Wilcox and I talk a lot. We talk football like you and I do. We can just talk football all day. And, we talked about Dax last year. And, he's a very, very good athlete.
Yep.
One of things that I thought was to leave him at safety and let him continue to grow and learn. Because I think that at some point, if he doesn't cut it at corner and the Bengals release him, the next team, if he gets picked up by another team, which he probably will, is going to have him play safety. I think that that's where his ceiling is. I don't know if he can play corner. I do know he's one whale of an athlete. But I know, too, that in talking to Solomon, who actually made the transition from corner to safety.
Right.
When I think it was his rookie year.
Yep.
It was different for him playing that position, but playing safety was easier for him than playing corner because he had been a corner his whole career. When you play the position from that angle, playing outside in all the time, you have to get used to understanding that part of it. Because when you play corner, even if you're in man-to-man coverage and say running play comes and it breaks outside, you still have to play the corner. You still have to turn the ball back inside. And these are things that I think that it takes years and it takes a lot of experience to learn. Obviously, him being a pro, he'll have an opportunity to get coached up well, and hopefully he can get used to playing football from that angle rather than playing football from inside out where you play safety. I do know that he's a well of an athlete. When they have training camp, I'm going to make it a point to go down there and see him because I'd like to see how he performs. I think it's a very, very tough transition because you don't see that a lot, as you said, but you do see guys going from corner to safety.
Yeah.
If he can make this transition, it'll be and he can be good at it. It'll be one of the best stories, I think, for their team this year if he can go out there and play at that high level that they need him to play. If they're a team that's talking about trying to get the playoffs and have Super Bowl aspirations, the cornerback position, the cornerback play is so vital. We saw last year when Cam Taylor-Britt got injured and went down for those several games, they were in scramble mode trying to find who to put on the field to play the cornerback position.
Yep.
C.J. Turner played okay in spots, but he had a really, really tough year. His rookie year looked a little bit like mine. I mean, he got roughed up a little bit. The hope is that he develops, and if he can play at a high level, that'll make the other guys have to come up to his level as well, particularly Dax Hill, because Dax Hill is going to want one of those jobs. He's not going to get it from Cam Taylor-Britt unless Cam Taylor-Britt slips a whole lot back in his rookie year. He's going on his fourth year, just like Dak. He's at the point where he should be ready to stay at that level. It's going to be interesting to see how Dax Hill goes into this and how he looks at the competitive part of it, because he's going to have to take someone's job in order to get himself on the field.
And he can flip his hips and run. I mean, that's not an issue with him. I mean, he has got those kind of traits, and that's watching him in corner, and I've watched a lot, but I've never played it like you and guys. But it looks like, he may have a shot. There's a lot less to think about, a lot less traffic out there and all that sort of thing. But I agree with you, Cam Taylor-Britt, watching him ET at OTAs and minicamp stuff, man, he's even trimmer and more physical. He's hit the weight room. This kid, he's the number one guy by far. There's no doubt. He's the number one guy out there.
He was having to me, in my opinion, I told Solomon, he was having a Pro Bowl season last year.
Yeah.
He was making plays every single game. Then he got the hamstring, went down, and that cost him some of his season. But I just think that, again, I think they have, you got to have four corners. And obviously you had Mike Hilton, who's just a slot corner, but you got to have four, maybe even five corners on your team to be able to get through a season. Is at the point now you got 17 games, you might even need 6 corners to get through the season because it's such a vital position. So I think that if Dax can give them what they need, even from a depth standpoint, that they put him out there and they can trust that he can get out there and get the job done, it'll be a plus for the team. Again, with everything I know about him, phenomenal athlete. I remember his rookie year, Dave, during preseason. And I said, they got him one. They got a dude. Yeah. I mean, he had an outstanding preseason. All over the field, intercepting passes, knocking down balls, making the tackles they need to make, making the plays out in space that we've seen him make. And it's funny because you watch him as a rookie, and then you watch him last year, and how many games he had an opportunity to make a play because the ball was almost thrown up in the air to him, and he just couldn't get that done. I thought that they should have kept him at safety. You got Vonn Bell back. Vonn Bell's experience can help him because I guarantee you, if you line him and Vonn Bell at the same position, and then as each one of those guys that get to a certain position, he'll get to places that Vonn Bell can't get just because, as you said, his athletic ability. I would have liked to see him develop at that position. I think that with his athletic ability, he could probably be a Pro Bowl safety because he's got the range, he's got good size, he's not afraid to tackle. He does all the things that you want from a football player, but he just doesn't do it consistently enough. And I think last year getting thrown into the fire, they thought that he was ready to take that step, and clearly he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready.
Vonn Bell, Geno Stone that they got from Baltimore, another guy that, can direct traffic back there and all that. Jordan Battle, young safety, up and coming. And Lou loves to run 3 safeties in his packages a lot of the time too. And like you say, there can be six DBs out there on the field when you count them all up. Lou was very disappointed, obviously, in the explosives. I mean, every time I talk to him, like, when we bring up last year, oh, man, explosives. That was it. Running game, passing game. I mean, we gave up too many blankety-blank explosives. And, a lot of it is, making sure that you're lined up right initially. And then when you need to make adjustments to get to where you need to be, make sure that all happens too, or else you don't have a chance. I mean, in this league, these guys are so damn good, you don't have a chance, right?
That's right. Well, I think that last year, 2 years ago, when you had 2 veteran safeties, 2 guys who really sort of know what they're doing, 2 guys who can sort of drift around, give you a different look and still get to the area of responsibility, and Jessie Bates and Vonn Bell. He had the luxury of that.
Yeah.
And I think even when earlier before Who Dey got hurt, you were solid at the corners and solid at safeties. And now you go from being, shaky at corner to very shaky at safety. And we knew, Solomon and I talked about going into free agency and what would happen. We were scared to death that they would lose both of those guys. We knew there was a great possibility they're going to lose Jessie Bates just because the 2nd round pick. He's not even in his prime yet. Good player, solid player. But we thought they could keep Vonn Bell. And when they lost both of them, we were like shuddering because we knew this is the time where teams become vulnerable on balls downfield. And I know for a fact that last year, I know how Louis feels because Solomon said, we talked about this. Last year, we saw the ball go over 20, 30 yards downfield more than any time over the prior 3 seasons.
Yeah.
You just couldn't throw it deep on them without that ball getting intercepted. So I think that if they can get back to that point where they can tighten that down, and I think Stone's a good player. I think he's a fantastic player. You watch him play in Baltimore. He's explosive. He's smart. He's at an age where he's still growing mentally and physically.
He had 7 picks last year.
That's right. You put him with a guy like Vonn Bell, a very heady football player, smart, going to make sure that they get lined up right. I think Battle's a good player. He won't start, but I think he's going to turn out to be a very, very good pro because you know what? He understands get where they asked you to be. And when you're a rookie player, that's the thing with young players. Can they, you tell them their responsibility. Can they get there and do it and be effective that way? Well, Battle was. So I think now they have at least 3 safeties that they can do some things with. This where I think Dak would have excelled because, as you know, when Dak was at Michigan State, he played sort of a nickel dime player there. He played down inside the slot.
Right.
And it's something that it takes a while to get comfortable with. I don't think he could ever come in and do for right now what Mike Hilton's doing in the slot on one side, but when the Bengals go to their dime package and you have to bring another safety slot slash corner in to cover that back or that tight end on the other side, he should be able to do that very effectively.
Yep.
That's right into his wheelhouse. That's right what he did in college.
Right.
And so it's sort of disappointing and surprising that he can't do it here at this level. So I think that I heard last year that the possibility of corner was a thing for him.
Yeah.
I feel, and just in my opinion, I would have left him where he is. I know it's contract coming up and everything, and they want to see what he is, and they got to make a decision about him. But I can tell you right now, if they don't re-sign him, they say he doesn't play well, he didn't start this year, and they can't find a way to re-sign him, he's going to another team, and he is going to play safety. They're going to play him at safety because with that kind of athletic ability, it's just a matter of just if they have to limit in terms of what he does, they want to get him on the field in that position because he'll make some plays just because he's so explosive. That's a conversation that Dax Hill can go on for a long time. It can, but I think that at the end of the day, it'll be interesting to see how he plays it. I'll be at training camp to watch. I'll be there.
So ET you mentioned Stone, they got in free agency, and they defensively in the draft. I mean, Lou Anarumo, they were active defensively for Lou in the draft here. They get Chris Jenkins, the 49th pick in the second round out of Michigan, very solid defensive tackle, interior player. McKinley Jackson, another interior defensive lineman, big guy, 97th pick out of Texas A&M, third round guy. And then in the fifth round, they get Josh Newton, a cornerback out of TCU, 149th pick in the fifth round. They had him rated as maybe a late third rounder, and this kid plays with tremendous instinct. He's real competitive. It looks like ET. I mean, he's a very physical tackler. He gets people on the ground, high character guy, smart guy. Even at OTAs and minicamp, he was challenging everything. I mean, what do you think about this kid?
I think he's going to be very, very good. I watched him after they drafted him, and we talked about, can they go in and get another corner that later in the draft that was projected much higher? When you look at him, these draft projections, they kind of mean something, they kind of don't, as you know, because they miss on so many players. They get it wrong. Let's face it, the greatest quarterback in the history of our game was a sixth-round pick. Right. And to think that you think a few teams missed on him?
Pick 199.
That's crazy. So I think that I knew that they were looking for another guy back on the back in another corner, because I said you got to have at least 5 corners. You got to have 5 corners. So here's a guy that comes in. I think that he's going to be looking to get on the field. And that now kids these days, and he played in the Big 12, they throwing the ball all over the place. He comes in with a lot of experience covering the football, covering the field. So I think, again, here's a kid who has a chance to come in. Right now, we know Cam Taylor-Britt's holding down one corner.
Yep.
We don't know if DJ Turner's holding down another corner. We don't know. If we based on what we saw last year on film, it's not going to be good enough if he does that again. So this other kid comes in, this 5th round pick, ought to come in and think, nothing's set in stone until it's set in stone until week 1 of the season. And I think that if he comes in and he does the things we saw him do as a college football player, he'll have a chance to get on the field and play a little bit.
In the 7th round, 224th pick, Dejon Anthony, excellent press cover guy out of Ole Miss. They had him rated as a high 6th rounder. They got him in the 7th. And like you said, I mean, where these, we have guys ranked, get them on the field and see what they can do. Free agency, Lane Robinson out of Tulane, corner out of Tulane, they signed in free agency. Your alma mater, P.J. Jules, safety out of Southern Illinois, Michael Dowell out of Miami of Ohio. I mean, they realize they have to get a competitive. I think they probably got 15 DBs coming to camp. It's going to be competitive.
It's good, Dave, because you know what happened last year when the injury bug hits them. Cam Taylor-Britt goes down. Awuzie wasn't quite right yet. I mean, they were really scraping the bottom of the barrel. I mean, a couple of games they had to try to fly Dak outside a little bit, and it's just too much. I think that they Louis realized now we have to keep our defensive back room locked and loaded, because if the fastest way to lose games in this league, Dave, as you know, is horrible quarterback play and bad secondary play. The Bengals had so many games last year where had they just been able to keep teams from throwing the ball up the field and taking that top away, they would have won 3 more games.
Yeah.
Because they got bombed in some of them games. You think about the Houston game. I mean, they beat the 49ers, but the 49ers, I mean, really had it easy going up and down the field throwing the ball. And if a team's got to run the ball up the middle and they're going to beat you like that, God bless them.
Yeah.
But you can't give it to them by let them throw it over your head. You talked about the 2 early draft picks, the defensive tackles. Fantastic move. I mean, because I think about the Dallas Cowboys last year and what happened to them. It happened to them late in the season where teams started gashing them up the middle and running the ball on them real effectively. The Bengals were okay in the run some games, not so okay in other games.
Right.
I think that the addition when DJ Reader went down, big hole. So now that they have 2 young players in there that can fill that gap in there with DJ Hill and Sheldon Rankins, it gives them an opportunity to say, we have rotation inside, we have size inside, we have youth inside. And so it gives them a chance to be better at that. Because when you get soft in the run game, Dave, you're going to be soft in the pass game too.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't stop the run, you're just vulnerable to everything. We saw it with the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers last year. Green Bay got it going in the run game. It just opened up it was the floodgates. And so I think that if the Bengals can have these players come in and players perform at the level in which they expect them to, it's a great opportunity for them to get back to where they want to be, being if the quarterback's healthy and the offensive coordinators in sync with him and all those things that we talk about that have to have the team come together. But it's a great opportunity for this team because they have a pretty good blend of veteran players. And when I say veteran, not old veteran players, but veteran players that are in their 4th, 5th, 6 years, and younger players coming in. That's about where you want to be. It'll give them a chance to make a run. And, the hope is that if they play like we think they can, I don't know if Super Bowl is it, but, I think you get into the tournament. You want to get into the tournament every year. Because once you get in, just like 2 years ago, when they got in, they took it all the way to the end. That's right. So, like I know, people, they can have the rankings, who's this, who's that when the playoffs start. No one knows who's going to win that tournament when it starts. And so the most important thing is that they get in. I think they put themselves in a position with the young players and the veteran players that they have that they can probably make a little run this year.
So, E.T., they did a good job at plugging holes, like you say. DJ Reader moves on, and Sheldon Rankins, a couple of draft picks. I mean, they've done a good job in free agency and in the draft, plugging holes, and then developing these young draft picks. So Tyler Boyd moves on, slot receiver. I mean, very, very accomplished slot receiver. They draft in the 3rd round, the 80th pick, Germaine Burton, who played in the SEC. He played at Alabama. He played at Georgia. 1st round talent in a lot of people's opinions. I mean, not many drops the kid could run. What do you know about Burton? How do you feel about that selection?
Well, it's funny. My mom's from Georgia. She's grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I watched a lot of Georgia football. I'm an SEC guy because I played at Tulane. Yep. And even when I played at Tulane, we were a major independent, but our whole schedule, the majority of our schedule was SEC schools. We played LSU, we played Georgia, we played Kentucky, we played Ole Miss, we played Mississippi State. So I'm used to watching that type of football. And I watched him when he was at Georgia, and you could see then. I think he was a freshman at Georgia, but I think that's the year they won the national championship. I said, this kid's going to be really, really good. Next thing you know, transfers to Alabama.
Right.
You see the same type of explosiveness. He's obviously playing in another top flight program. But what I saw with this kid? This kid makes play after play after play, and I think he does it differently than Tyler Boyd. This kid does it with speed. I mean, he's a fast kid. This is something I think that's going to be great for them because they didn't have that since Joe Burrow has been here. They haven't had that burner in the slot. I thought one of the things that would happen was they would take Jamar Chase, move him down in the slot because he would be very dangerous there.
Yeah,
that you'd have to have someone outside. But here's this Burton kid who's a slot receiver. He's got size, he's got speed. This is going to be a really, really great opportunity for him because people don't understand. When you put a 3rd receiver out there like this, who could possibly be a 1 receiver, your 3rd corner is going to be on him. You got your 2 outside corners. Your 3rd corner is going to be on the slot guy. And that's where I think the Bengals can take advantage of things. Tyler Boyd had opportunities. I mean, he dropped balls that I just, even to this day, I just still can't understand how he could drop those balls. Yeah. But if this kid can get in that slot and he can get the kind of separation that we've seen him getting in college, he's going to see a lot of balls coming his way. This is a game changer. This is a guy who's almost like a starting receiver coming into your building, and he's going to be learning from 2 guys who have had a lot of success in the league, and he's coming in a position where he's going to be playing against every team's 3rd corner. He should do very, very well. I heard about the off the field stuff. That's going to be that won't be an issue until it's an issue.
Right.
But that's the thing is that here it is. They should talk to him and say, hey man, you got a great opportunity. You got a great opportunity. You don't want to go do something to mess this up because you're playing with a franchise that wanted you. You're playing with a quarterback that can get you that football. And that should mean more than anything else. He ought to spend as much time as he can learning from Joe Burrow, trying to be that player. But if he can get there quickly, like where Tyler Boyd was, and he probably can because he's a faster player, got good hands, this offense could do something. Yeah. It's going to come down still. Can they run the football and those kind of things? But the opportunity to be explosive is certainly there.
E.T., can't thank you enough, man. I mean, one thing you mentioned, speed on Burton. This football team's got some speed, and you're one of the fastest players ever to put on a Cincinnati Bengals uniform. I mean, E.T. could fly, man. And not only fly, change direction. I mean, it's like you're a hell of a football player, my man. And
appreciate you
carving time for us, giving us a chance to talk football with ET, because like you said earlier, I can talk football with you all day.
We've talked a lot of it, brother. I sure appreciate it, man.
I'm telling you. Thank you once again, ET.
Thank you, brother.
You're the best. Have a great 4th of July, my man.
Appreciate you, Dave. Have a great day, brother.
You too. Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.